Need high-quality video to promote your event, business, or band? We can help.
We're Pixel Pond, a video production team based in the Pacific Northwest, providing high-quality content to clients across the U.S. and Canada.
Whether you want coverage of your live event to promote for next year, or need a camera and a camera operator for your next big project, we can accommodate projects of all sizes.
Your story is important. Visit pixelpondllc.com or send an email to info@pixelpondllc.com to get started today. We can't wait to work with you.
Coming up on Gamers Week podcast. A group of designers have created a video game controller that is made from bacteria and yeast rather than plastic. So if you haven't seen pictures of this thing, which you likely haven't, you should look it up because it kind of looks like if you imagine somebody skinned the face of a zombie and used it to make a controller. It's disgusting looking.
They use it on the Isle of Dr. Moreau.
It looks like a Hot Pocket.
That's disgusting.
And I feel like it would smell too. Like I know plastic is bad for the environment, but
it looks like a sack. A
sack.
Like Buffalo Bill created it.
Exactly. Like, would you play me? I'd play me.
I'd play me so hard.
In any of the 4 books, Hobbit, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King, any of those books, does he describe how, when, or where Aragorn was partaking in like a hot springs or
are we still
pool,
on this?
or like under a waterfall, like in a pool of liquid?
Are you asking if he took a bath? I think that's kind of what we're getting at right here.
In a nondescript way, yes. I'm asking if he bathed at all in the course of the 4 books.
Not specifically.
Okay. So, therefore, this manly scent is hot Fremunda cheese, sauerkraut, and general nastiness.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm.
When he's wearing the same underwear every day, hasn't changed his socks. There's no laundry. There's no deodorant.
No Irish Spring.
No.
Nothing like that.
No.
I have a suggestion.
Yes. What is that suggestion?
You know how the elves give them the lumbus bread?
Lambless bread, yes.
Yeah, you eat one bite and you're full for the whole day. Something like that. Why would the elves not have the equivalent of like some sort of soap bar?
Or a spritz, like a cologne?
Something, and then you're clean. I don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility.
I mean, you're not wrong. The elves were obviously mythical creatures, right? So as far as things go, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility. But then we're just making speculation. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I would very much like for us to be able to utilize things that are real. So
that are real in this story about dragons and elves.
Not as much on the dragon side, but elves for sure.
Okay. Just want to make sure what playing field we're on. Do we have a cold open that's not something we already talked about?
Oh, that can't. Come on, that has to be a cold open. Come on.
Oh, yeah. And right here, you can have this joke where you go, is there something that we haven't talked about? Yeah, it's all good in the hood.
All right, fine.
Well, to be fair, I mean, there are a lot of hot women that are in that book that probably
are there. Tolkien hated writing women.
I'm trying to help, but
you got 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot elves out there. That's for sure. They say that Galadriel is the fairest of all women. Actually, Gimli says that.
Yeah, but they're essentially both elves, so they probably had that magic spritz or whatever.
Elven douche. It's Riven douche.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Riven douche.
We should all work at a marketing firm, I swear.
I know, because we'd have brainstorm meetings where we just sit around and do exactly this.
I'm okay with that. As long as somebody's paying me, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Is that good enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right, let's go live, shall we?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get better than that. So, hello, everyone. Yes, TK85 says, happy Thursday, Curse Eve. Yes, happy Thursday, Curse Eve. As everyone in the chat and everyone online is aware, there's the big rumored announcement of the Nintendo Switch either sometime tonight or tomorrow. So, of course, the Thursday curse strikes again. However, if it does come true, we're going to hopefully get together tomorrow night and do a quick recording and include it in the show. But we'll see. Yeah, nobody knows. So it's getting crazy out there. Stay safe, kids.
You fall before me, says, damn you, Big N!
Curses!
All right. Welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 148, and today is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. My name is Blue Williams, and I'll be your host for this evening. But of course, as you can see, I am not alone. I do have two fine co-hosts with me. My first co-host recently canceled his order for a custom sex robot made in the likeness of Rosie, the maid from the Jetsons, because the company would not upgrade his order with the Tentacle Monster add-on for free. Everyone, please say hello to Ryan Payne, a.k.a. retrogamebrews.
Haven't they ever heard of the customer's always right? Come on, right? Just throw in a little something, for of the price of on the house, right? Come on.
Now you're being condescending.
You're using big words, so I'm going to take that as an offense.
The customer's always an asshole.
No, the customer wants it in his asshole. That's different.
Oh, in this case, yes.
Well, sometimes both can be true. Just saying.
You're right. And my second co-host is very happy with his sex robot purchase, but not for the reason you might think. He bought the Michael Jackson model to follow him around all day and sing songs praising him as the locomotive lord. Please, everyone, say hello to the one and only Donnie G.
When I touch him, he's like, you really turn me on. I know. You don't have to keep saying everything that I do. You don't have to sing it, okay? I couldn't live with the Michael Jackson robot. I'm sorry. I would grab him and I would choke him and I would put him down. And that would be the second time Michael Jackson has died.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Apparently, Donnie G is not my lover.
All right. Well, on that note, let's move on to our reviews, reactions, and requests. Puzzle Better says, the smells discussion was the funniest part of the last episode. I'm with Blue. Aragon smells like manly rainbows, dang it. Well, Puzzle is here in the chat today, and Puzzle, you will be very interested in the cold open chat that will be included in the show when I release it on Friday. These guys, it's very important to them that our dreams are smashed.
Just being realistic, man.
Right.
Next up from Lucas Grimm, in 2025, I predict Ubisoft finally releases Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, but it doesn't live up to the expectation thanks to people not caring after so many delays on a remake. However, they also release the original trilogy on PS Plus as part of the PS2 collection, and people regain interest in the series again. That's actually a fantastic idea, and I don't know why Ubisoft hasn't done that.
Yeah, it has been a while since we've had anything Prince of Persia really make a splash whatsoever. So I think, that would be great. I mean, that used to be a fantastic series.
They had that recent one that had like the weird art style. And I think it was like the people in the Discord who played it said it was great, but I don't think it really made much of a splash.
Right.
And next up, we got a very nice email from Ramboski. And so I'm just going to read an excerpt from it and share it with everyone. So Ramboski says, while I wasn't there to listen to the first episodes when it all started, I've gone back to listen to every episode, regular and uncut. They are still as fun to listen to as the day they were released. I'm definitely hooked, and especially the uncut or live show episodes, which, in my opinion, is the best way to listen to the show as we can interact with you all live. Plus, I hate censorship, except if kids are present, of course. I'm so glad I found your podcast. The show makes my commute more fun now, and I don't flip out when someone cuts me off and have a case of road rage. Hey, as long as you are dropping new or old content, we'll be here to support you no matter what. And I'll be one of those followers/fans that will ride until the wheels fall off. Love the chemistry of each of your personalities. Like so many people before me have said, you all are like the Triforce, where if one piece is missing, it feels incomplete, even when you have great guests, but it's not the same as the original hosts. Thanks again for being such an awesome crew and for creating such a fantastic show. Ramboski, thank you so much. Yes. It was so nice to read this.
Absolutely.
Definitely hit the heartstrings. So thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Warms the cockles. Thank you very much for the compliment.
And Donnie's always happier when his cockles are warm.
Right? Yeah. That's a real world. That's a real word. Real man. It's a real word. Cockles.
All right, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
Hold on, I've got to Google cockles.
No, it's a real world.
Yeah, I knew.
See, even you couldn't say it.
I just don't know how to spell.
Real word. There.
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. John Barron. John Barron, Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Ry's Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gamatroid, Moradib, Michael Lakite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, The Real Retro Game Brews, Fruitcakes Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, Absolutely the Best Podcast, Wizard of Zardoz, Bops and Dugnut, Blues Little Sis, Loud Moth, Retro Blast Pat, B&T Zillaguy, The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Canair, AGIL 2020, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, AVPGH, The Pixel Pond Family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, and #1 Blue Sick Boys fan. If you like what you hear today, and we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
Satisfaction says, would you cockle for me? And I said, Donnie doesn't cockle for free.
No, at least 25 cents per cockle.
You know, we should put that as one of the rewards on Twitch. You know, the ones where you gain like points. Yeah, like
Donnie cockles.
Donnie cockles. Oh, that does not sound good.
Exactly, that's the point.
That will be the most popular reward we have. Puzzle says, smooth voice this week, Donnie.
Thank you. A cockle is an edible marine bivalve mollusk.
Yeah.
So when they say it warms the cockles of my heart, what does that mean?
You would have to Google that separately for the etymology of that phrase.
Okay.
In the meantime, let's move on to the headlines.
Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. And each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they want to know, what is your approach to open world games? Send your answer to email@retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes.
My approach to open world games is to do everything but the main quest until I can do no more. And then finally only do the main quest as a last resort.
I think it depends on my experience in the open world. If the like fun little side quests, quote unquote, fun little side quests are actually fun and I'm enjoying them and I'm doing all of the, extra elements, then sure. If not, I will go on GameFAQs.com, find out what I need to do next to continue to progress the story. A lot of times I don't want to just judge a game by its where the do I go-ness, if you will, right? So I want experiencing the main, at least the first time around, and then go exploring, see what else is there. But most times I find the side quests to be fun. It's just that one of those few games where you're just like, fishing again?
Yeah.
Right. And you got to catch one of like each of the rare fish and you're like, hey, nobody got time for this.
Right. Exactly.
You Fought Before Me says, got to be OP and save the last story trophy before popping the platinum. That's a pro move.
I used to be against open world games just because I needed that direction. Like, okay, this is where you go. This is where you're headed. Now you're doing this stuff in this area. You go on to this next area. There you go. And then all of a sudden these open world games came out. You had, I think one of the first ones that I really didn't care for was Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. And I'm just like, what do I do? Where do I go? There's no indicator that's telling me, like, I'm lost. So I nope the hell out of there. But as I've gotten older and played a lot more games, I love the open worlds now. I just going in there and exploring and see what I can't get into. I'm doing that with Breath of the Wild currently, and I'm in no rush to finish the main storyline. It's just, okay, side quest, side quest, side quest, side quest. Let's see all the stuff that I can find and uncover, all the secrets I can get to. And yeah, it's been fun.
Especially if you're upgrading your weapons, or in a traditional RPG, you're upgrading your experience points, magic, whatever. Makes it so much worth it. But if it's just side quest to side quest, and for that sake, I'd rather not. I'm sorry. You've given me too many choices, too many options.
I get you.
Just,
yeah.
If I'm not getting anything out of this, like truly getting anything that's going to help me in the main game, I don't care.
All right, let's move on to the week's headlines. First up, veteran investment analysis and researcher Matthew Ball of Epilon has released a gargantuan 219-page report about the state of video gaming in 2025. And some of the presentation looks at how the video game industry can possibly grow in 2025. In a section titled How Player, Playtime, and Player Spend Might Return to Growth, Ball mentioned a variety of opportunities, including Grand Theft Auto 6, costing as much as $100 when it launches this year. Ball said there is hope that Take-Two will price GTA 6 at $80 or even $100, which could prove to be a turning point for the video game industry. This could break a key price barrier and allow other developers to raise prices as well, he said. $70 is the current market rate for new AAA releases, and in fact, it was Take-Two that was among the first to raise prices from $60 to $70 back in 2020. Many are naturally wondering if Take-Two might raise prices again for GTA 6's launch, but it remains to be seen if that will happen. Beyond updating the sticker price for games, video game publishers have found other ways to get more money out of players, including expensive special editions, microtransactions, and battle passes, just to name a few.
Can we add like a quick little blurb, like a soundbite where it's from the movie Half Baked, where it just goes, "Boo this man"?
Yeah, yeah, for real. Matthew Ball, boo this man.
Boo this man!
Veteran investment analyst and researcher Matthew Ball can eat a big bag of slimy dicks.
Well, why are they slimy?
Because that in this situation, they're going to be slimy. It's not going to be something he's going to enjoy.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think everyone here and everyone in the chat, and probably everyone listening, hates the idea and this narrative that somehow persists, but only among publishing houses and developers, that if only they could just figure out how to raise the prices and get more money out of consumers. And here we have Matthew Ball straight up saying, we hope that Take-Two will be the ones to do it. And I guess if that's your hope for 2025 in video games, Take-Two is the ones who should be your champion, because of all titles that are coming out probably in this decade, GTA 6 is the one that I believe people would pay $100 for.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think that would be this industry-wide change that they're looking for, because I think any title that tried to do it after GTA 6 would get a really rude awakening.
It shouldn't be an industry standard. It should only be for the a game that basically justifies it. Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and say that Grand Theft Auto 6 is justified with the $100 price point, because look at how much content that you got from Grand Theft Auto 5, not to mention the online playability that has basically stayed there for what, 10 plus years?
10 plus years, and they continue to release DLC for it, which was free.
Right.
So
free
your
DLC.
initial purchase price of GTA 5 was worth it if you ended up loving that game.
Absolutely. Now, there's no way to know if they're planning on doing the free DLCs again. I would say that if it's for $100, maybe give us free DLCs. But I think at this point, they're like, no, we can charge you maybe $5 for this or $5 for that, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it all depends on the quality of the game and just how much replayability it has, where you can justify spending or having it for $100.
Puzzle Better says Etsy sells a candy bag of dicks. Just a thought. Also, don't ask me how I know. You can probably add your own slime. I'm going to be looking into this. No reason. Just want to check it out.
If we add our own slime, is it going to melt then?
Depends on if it's hard candy or not.
Yeah.
It is.
So I'm going to disagree in one aspect of this. I think it actually does open up the floodgates for this price point being something that becomes more normalized. And the reason I say that is that it's very much to the point in which we've been expecting this. We know it's coming, and inflation is a big part of it. I think there are so many companies out there that want to charge that.
Of course, they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And by all of a sudden, when one does it, right, the dominoes can fall. I mean, you could say, oh, well, our game is epic too. Look at that. So it's going to be that AAA games are all of a sudden $100, right? Everything requires all that additional investment. Then eventually it becomes AA games, and that becomes the normal price that we all pay for every single game that comes out. I think it's a slippery slope. I'm not necessarily saying that's a guarantee, but I do think that becomes a slippery slope. And, it's funny to me because both of you said, oh, well, I can see that being justified for GTA 5, that $100 is something. I think if we had this conversation 4 years ago and we said, oh, GTA 6 is going to be $100, all of us would be like, that's ridiculous. I'm never paying that amount. But I think we've been conditioned over time with these small raises in pricing, right?
You're not wrong, because that's significant, because we've had smaller raises in price, and now all of a sudden they're like, let's just skip ahead to $100.
Right.
Yeah.
So other publishers will see, let's assume that GTA 6 does the $100 price and that they're still successful, that it doesn't hurt their sales, even though there are a certain percentage of people who won't buy it for that price, either because they can't afford it or just out of principle. They'll wait for a sale.
Right.
But yeah, let's assume they set it at $100 and that it's still a successful game. Other publishers will say, well, hey, I can do my cookie cutter, open world game and make it $100, even though I put a fraction of the effort into it that Take-Two put into GTA 6. I can price it at $100, and then I can do like paid DLC and all this kind of stuff. I think there are very few titles that this is going to work for, industry standard or not.
Initially,
Right.
I think you're right. I think initially you are correct. It has to be a banger. It has to be, your game has to have, it can't be Balan's Wonder World, right? All of a sudden, right? You're pushing that out, right? It's something where clearly people are asking for it and it's an anticipated game. Mm-hmm. But it better be, at least from my experience, it better not be like the release of Cyberpunk 2077. Right. It's not glitchy. This works right off the bat. There isn't $100. If I'm going to pay for $100 for a game, I want it to work without having to wait 6 months to get the way it should be working.
How many of those instances do you think we will see where they will rush something, not have it finished day one, and all of a sudden you're paying $100? Guess what? It's a day one patch, and you've got like 5 gig that you have to download and wait and stuff like that. All these companies, they can sit there and release their games at $100, but when the money's not rolling in, they'll be quick to say, oh, price drop to $69.99, where it should have been in the first place. Then actually, I don't think they'll learn their lesson. They'll just try again with the next game.
That's it. Is that they're going to say, okay, well, we'll get some people at the beginning. I don't mind that, right? We'll grab some of those folks and get that $100, and then when it's time to drop the price, we'll still make money off of it. So I will be laughing all the way to the bank, more or less. But those people who paid $100 are now conditioned to continue to pay $100 for other games.
Of course.
TKN85 says, remember when Nintendo randomly made Tears of the Kingdom $70 and we haven't seen another Switch game that price since?
That is true. And Nintendo, I think, that there's a difference, right? And a lot of it is because with Nintendo, the games aren't that sophisticated. And Nintendo seems to be perfectly fine with releasing games at a shorter price point. People are like, oh, well, this Switch game isn't going to be as epic as something I'm finding on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S because I can't get it on Switch. My Switch isn't advanced enough to play that. Switch 2, however, might be a different story.
Like they set their games at full price and they never come down.
That's it.
Right.
Well,
So it's a lower price point, but it's not a lot lower.
Right. Especially if it's a Nintendo specific title. Absolutely.
Right. Simon Astor says, I might pay $100 for a new Star Tropics.
And that's it. Is that maybe that's what they do is they go off of your nostalgia too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we're going to release this one game. And by the way,
well, here's an idea. Why don't we price games? I don't know how you'd do it, but just, in some magical instance where you could price games based on how much the consumer is looking forward to it.
I don't know, because if they're not looking forward to it, what are you going to price it at, like $9.99?
Yeah, like 50 cents. But then, personally for me, Silk Song comes out and I end up paying like $10,000 for it.
Yeah, because you're the only.
Would you pay $100 for Silk Song? Honestly.
Yes.
See?
If regular games are going to be the $100 price point, what are the special edition collector's edition going to be? $150, $200?
Easily. Yeah. I mean, some collector's editions are well over $200 right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if they include statues and stuff like that. And
Right.
that this is going to have some fancy collector's editions for GTA 6.
Your mortgage.
Yes, Agent Nil, your mortgage.
One of the things that makes this interesting, though, is the price point of the console as well. If we look at it comparatively, right? If you think about it, it's now more like when the Atari came out. When the Atari came out, it was, $59.99, and Atari that then costs $200. So each game was $50, and then the Atari itself cost $200. So we're talking 4 games is the equivalent of your entire system.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about $100 and the average console is $400, it's in that same price point,
Yeah, when the games are starting to rival the cost of the console itself, somebody's getting too greedy.
Right.
Way, way too greedy.
Agreed.
Well, that's when they get rid of the consoles altogether, because now they have their individual platforms.
And then we have a dongle.
Dongle.
All right. Next up, Razer has released a backseat gaming AI bot called Project AVA. Announced at CES 2025, Razer describes the project as the smartest gaming companion ever created. Developed for gamers by gamers, get real-time expert advice that improves your play with Project AVA, your dedicated AI gamer co-pilot. It's essentially an AI assistant that monitors your gameplay and gives you vocalized hints in real time. The bot, Razer says, offers expert AI advice that draws from a wealth of community wisdom and knowledge bases. This allows gamers to stay fully immersed in the challenge without ever having to tab out. According to Razer, AVA considers pro player/coach insights, real-time event logs, item purchase history, public games played, public game guides/data, player gameplay style, player settings, and voice prompts. It works its AI magic on all that and spits out its in-game text, voice advice, or post-game analysis, just like a real coach.
We noticed you didn't get any kills this round. Stop being a little bit. Get in the fight. Damn.
Yeah, I was going to start criticizing me. I'm not really. And as Simon Ashton said, I don't need AI gaming buddy. That's why I have Twitch. Also, I don't need to be criticized for my gaming. That's why I have Twitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes if Mr. Blue is sitting on the couch watching me play a game, like especially when we were playing Elden Ring together, and he's like, well, do this, like in a boss fight. And I'm like, can you just let me fucking play?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having this thing in my ear the whole time.
Right. It's, again, it's the Clippy of gaming, right?
Yep.
Like,
Right.
see, you're struggling with this. Like, shut the f- fuck up, you know?
Pretty much. You Fall Before Me says, maybe Animal Crossing is for you.
Yep. Wow. Like, I couldn't imagine having this kind of AI bot while I was playing Cuphead.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Well, you're already frustrated. You're already about ready to chuck a controller.
How many times are you going to die to that jelly bean, Donnie?
It doesn't look like you're dodging the things on screen very well. Take another approach.
Have you ever thought about getting good?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
I mean, backseat gaming is a big taboo in most online communities anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why Razer thought this was going to be a fantastic idea. But then again, though, that might very well be something where our generation is so used to just grinding out games by yourself. It's I'll get it done. I'll figure it out. I'll be happy about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the younger generation doesn't mind. I mean, there's somebody who is constantly searching for AI and ChatGPT and Google for answers for stuff. So maybe they don't mind. And you know what? That's great. I hope they really enjoy this. But I personally will never be getting anywhere near this thing.
No. And there's a little bit of could this be cheating?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, though, then that brings us the broader question. Is going to game FAQs, is that cheating?
Well, it depends. I don't think that is cheating if you're the person that needs a help guide or whatnot. And if they turn on this AI bot, you don't have to have a help guide. You don't have to go to game FAQs. You don't have to go to a YouTube walkthrough or anything like that. It's just like, hey, GamerBot, how do I get past this level? Okay, you're playing this game. You're at this level. Try looking here. Or maybe you should do something with this. The magnetism thing will work with this one. So maybe it'll give you helpful hints, just like your little gaming buddy. And you can have it as responsive as you want, where it could be a complete dictator and tell you what to do step by step, or it can offer helpful suggestions, or you cannot use it at all.
As long as it cuts it short from like giving you aimbot or, you know, being able to see through walls or something.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is if you're playing by yourself, you're an open world RPG and you're playing by yourself and you're like, I don't know where the to go. Ava, where do I go? That's one thing. But like if you're playing online, like let's say you're playing a StarCraft match online and this thing is telling you like what to build and based on strategy, but it's essentially telling you exactly how to play the match to win it.
I can see where that would be problematic for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Like if you're talking about those like random seed generators for Minecraft as well, right? Or the ones where people are doing randomizers, like, you know, Legend of Zelda randomizers, and it gives you the best strategy based off of just probability or whatever. Again, I can see that being pretty problematic, especially if we're talking about somebody doing it for either a tournament or some kind of speed run.
Yeah. I mean, if this takes off, I would think that tournaments would start to put it in their rules that you couldn't have it.
No AI bots. Yeah. Well, and Simon Asher makes a good point. It sounds impossible to keep up to date with every game that exists.
That's very true.
And
very true.
One of the genres that immediately came to mind was fighting games. In no way, shape, or form is it going to help you become a better fighter. It will not do the moves for you, or at least you hope not. But it can tell you like, okay, you're fighting, your E Honda is going up against Ken. So watch his Hadoukens and try to jump over them. Oh, great. Something I already freaking know. So that's the least bit helpful.
No, but it could be telling you the combos in the match in case you don't have them memorized.
You're the one that has to do the moves yourself. So you have to be able to be good enough on the controller that you're using to put those moves and have the reaction time to do so.
Frank says, AI gaming buddy for GTA 6. Don't forget to kill the hooker you just paid to get your money back.
I do like the memes that this thing has the potential for. I'll give it that.
And Simon, I would agree. So Simon said, I worry this will kill creativity. I've seen some very creative solutions that go against standard strategies. I agree. In fact, it's especially if we're talking about things like speedrunning, where they have kind of figured out how ways to optimize games or even exploit things just by happenstance or by accident. You can have less and less people trying that route and relying more on the technology to try to give them an edge.
Right.
So,
Doing everything by the book. And I think immediately talking about Breath of the Wild again, that was one of the most fun things about the different shrines was watching all the ways online that people would beat the shrines completely and not in intended ways, just breaking it completely. And all the creativity you could have with those games was so fun. So yeah, I could see that. Like, why do I need to think for myself when the bot tells me exactly how to do it?
So eventually down the road, it's just going to turn into you have a bot that plays games for you and you watch.
Yeah. Just like
Twitch.
Twitch, but on Wally.
There we go, right?
Yeah. You want to play video games today? No, I played video games yesterday.
Oh, that's sad.
The future is all Let's Plays.
Oh. All right. And last up, a group of designers have created a video game controller that is made from bacteria and yeast rather than plastic. Designed and created by Vivian Russell, Madalena Nicolai, and Mark Tessier, the biohybrid device video game controller is a combination of biological growth and digital fabrication. According to the designers, it was grown using a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, then integrated with sensors and electronic components during the natural growth process to create a real device you can play with. These biologically grown devices blur the boundaries between living and non-living systems, in the process opening up possibilities to create interactive devices through biological and digital fabrication for many other applications, such as robotics, medical devices, and wearables, in addition to the proposed usage in gaming. While most of it looks impressive, does it? Such devices would entail a complex fabrication process and require more maintenance to remain functional for a longer time. So if you haven't seen pictures of this thing, which you likely haven't, you should look it up, because it kind of looks like if you imagine somebody skinned the face of a zombie and used it to make a controller. It's disgusting looking.
Our scientists were too preoccupied with whether or not they could. They didn't stop to think whether they should. They didn't stop to think all the different foods and liquids and stuff that would be mixed in with this bacteria and this yeast from gamers and their Cheeto hands and all that stuff. Now it's going to create...
That's just feeding the bacteria some more.
Exactly. So it's going to morph and grow and bastardize itself. And this is what's going to be the fall of humanity.
Yeah. So Simon Asher says, this sounds like some rad, mad science, and I want to know more. Tegan85 says, the controller looks like it would be saying, kill me. Puzzle Butter says, it's going to come alive and kill us all. Oh no, it's already alive. And Sam Disfaction says, I can't wait to use a ham, play my Xbox. Yeah, there you go.
They use it on the Isle of Dr. Moreau.
It looks like a Hot Pocket.
That's disgusting.
And I feel like it would smell too. Like, I know plastic is bad for the environment, but
it looks like a sack. A
sack.
Like Buffalo Bill created it.
Exactly. Like, would you play me? I'd play me.
I'd play me so hard.
T said, thanks, Ryan. I was eating.
You should know better than to eat during this show.
So if we're talking about, to your point, right, plastic is bad, we need to replace it with something else.
Yeah.
One of the suggestions for that is bio cellulose, right? It's actually mycelium fiber as well. So the use of mushrooms and fungi to create a plastic-like structure, right? So they set it up in a mold, and then this thing like grows into it, and it becomes hard as a rock, more or less, right? So you can utilize it as a replacement for plastic.
The mushroom is hard as a rock.
Yeah. And I'm all for that, right? Because if it looks like plastic and it functions like plastic, yes, that works. This one's a little weird for me. There's a bridge right there, and this one's the bridge too far, if you will, right?
Yeah, with the mushroom one, can you run a Clorox wipe over the outside of it and just...
Absolutely. Ideally, perfect, right, exactly.
That's fine. Just don't tell me it's mushroom and not plastic, and that'll be perfect.
Make it hard, Ryan says. Satisfaction. Doesn't take much, I'll tell you that.
Puzzle Butter says, it wakes up in the middle of the night and starts talking to you. Play with me.
God.
Gross. Gross.
No. I like the ingenuity that's coming about with controllers and stuff like that, especially for people with disabilities that allows them to play video games and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But the controller from last week that, I mean, really just it was that. Did we touch on that last week? The controller, or was that on the end?
I know.
I keep making that gesture though.
Well, there's a dildo controller that they just showed off in CES. Now you've got a living skin controller. That no, we don't. That's not the kind of ingenuity that we need.
Puzzle better. That's exactly right. Biodegradable polymers are a thing. That's right. So. Yeah, again, I think we took it a little too far. You pointed it out, Donnie, whether we should. We're concerned.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like a rawhide that you would give your dog. And so it looks like the kind of thing if your dog got a hold of it.
It looks squishy. Doesn't it look a little squishy too?
No,
to me it looks hard.
It looks kind of like squishy. It's hard-ish, but like flexible.
Like crispy skin.
Yeah, I don't want it.
Yeah. On the left-hand side, looks like a waffle.
Yeah, I don't want it at all.
Yeah.
Webhead says, if it looks like plastic and functions like plastic, it works, says Ryan. Are we talking about the sex robot again?
Well played.
D says, putting the joy in joystick.
The next day.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait. Everybody, calm down.
Oh my God! It's happening! It's happening!
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for.
The Switch 2. They couldn't have done this yesterday morning, so we could just do it seamlessly into the show, but that's okay.
Well, and we kind of gambled on this one, I got to be honest, because it was like rumors on rumors. And we're like, well, if they announce it, I guess we'll record more. But if they don't, we'll just have a really short episode.
Yep.
Well, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that the leaks were exactly how the Switch 2 looked?
Oh, yeah. And as I understand, Nintendo was pissed that the leaks were.
Right. They apparently sent lawyers over to Genki, which was the company that was debuting the 3D printed Switch 2s at CES. And Genki says, we didn't sign no non-disclosure. On your way, lawyers. And I'm like, ooh.
Okay.
The balls on that.
Right.
Like cojones.
Can't wait to follow that one and see where that goes. Anyway, though, the reason we're all here, Nintendo officially revealed the sequel to its most successful home console ever in a brief trailer on January 16. The Switch 2 looks functionally very similar to the original system, albeit with a larger display, magnetic Joy-Cons, and a sleeker design. The company also reaffirmed that the upcoming console will be backwards compatible with Switch games. The company hasn't changed the core form factor. It's a portable console with detachable Joy-Cons, and the Switch 2 can be placed in a dock for big screen gaming. There are some significant differences from the original, however. The most obvious one is that the next-gen Joy-Cons will no longer slide into place mechanically. Instead, they'll attach to the main unit magnetically. There appears to be a new sensor on the connecting side of each controller. It looks a whole lot like an optical sensor, which is what a computer mouse uses. This has led to speculation that players will be able to flip the Joy-Con over and use it like a mouse. Of note, the trailer shows the Joy-Cons moving along a flat surface, connector side down, and looking suspiciously mouse-like. One other big and very welcome change is the addition of a second USB-C port on the top of the device that should make it much easier to plug in accessories while the Switch 2 is docked. It's great to see that Nintendo has kept the headphone jack as well, and keen eyes will have noticed a new button on the bottom of the right Joy-Con. It is not yet clear what this does, though it's rumored to be the new C button. And of course, the reveal trailer offered a peek at a new Mario Kart game, but that's all we got, a peek. Nintendo has reiterated that physical and digital Switch games will work on the new system. However, it noted that certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2, but more details about which games those are will be revealed later. While the teaser did confirm some rumors and have a few interesting details for those who are paying close attention, Nintendo is still largely keeping its cards close to its chest. We'll have to wait until a special Nintendo Direct on April 2nd for all of the juicy information. And guess what? April 2nd is a Wednesday.
Ooh, that's going to be good for juicy news.
Right. So what do you guys think?
I feel extremely underwhelmed.
Okay. There have been a lot of people echoing that sentiment.
Mm-hmm. This to me feels more like a pro version of the Switch than a new console. It looks almost identical, right?
Mm-hmm.
It still plays your Switch games. Most of them, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I from the very limited amount that we see, it just feels like it's just an upgraded Switch. Which, don't get me wrong, it needed upgrading, and we've been talking about the Switch Pro coming out for like 3 years, and it never did. To me, this just feels like that, right? I would imagine it's probably got a quicker processor. It's probably got a lot more storage space that's available to it, right? Because 32 gigs is a freaking joke nowadays. And as far as the Joy-Cons, yeah, they probably have some additional functionality, but it just doesn't feel as different. If you look at every console, probably besides the like NES and Super Nintendo, which were fairly similar, right? Except the graphic upgrades were huge, but from like I don't know how you interact with the system, and like the controllers were kind of similar, right? That was the least amount of jump that I've seen from a Nintendo console, where this, up until that point, and then it went to the N64, huge difference in as far as the controller is concerned. The GameCube was like this little tiny thing, right? And then it was the Wii was the interactive piece, and the Wii U came out with the big tablet, and then finally the Switch comes out, and it's, you know, it's a portable and it's a home console. There are vast differences, right, between what we see from previous Nintendo consoles to what they bring out typically. There's a lot of innovation in between them, and this just doesn't feel like that.
Vast deference?
Yeah, vast deference. Yes, that's what I said. You sack of shit.
If I didn't get it in right then, the joke would be lost. So
to me, at least, I'm very underwhelmed at the moment. Now they may come out with on April 2nd and just blow me away with what this thing can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
But this reveal was 2 minutes long, and it was like that's it. Yeah. Okay. Yay. I mean, I'm going to still buy it. Don't get me wrong. So
then it did its job.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I was underwhelmed.
I'm going to agree with that sentiment. Whenever I saw the reveal, the actual reveal, it's like, oh, it's bigger. Oh, the Joy-Cons are bigger. Oh, you've got different colors on the Joy-Cons. Boo! And that was, I'm like, really? Like that? Like, are you kidding me? Every single successor from the NES has been nothing short of stellar. I mean, I wouldn't say the GameCube was stellar. It was a freaking cube, for Christ's sake. The GameCube, and then the Wii. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's a rectangle that angles. Okay. And then the Wii U was great. The Wii Pad and everything was chef's kiss. And the Switch, okay, they're compounding on the Wii U. And now we get the Switch Pro. And that's basically all it is, like you said, Ryan. And I feel so underwhelmed, so let down. But the question remains, how powerful is this console going to be? Because it makes no sense if it's not on par with like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, if it's not at least powerful as those or more, then what's the point? I already have an OLED Switch, so I don't need to buy the Switch Pro. But if they're going to start saying, well, now we're going to phase out games for the Switch and you can only play these games on the Switch too, well, then I'm kind of forced into that.
Which I guarantee you, the newest Mario Kart, because that's what it looked like, right? There was Mario Kart, and there was 24, if we looked, spots on the track. So
that's going to be bonkers.
Oh my God. I thought I sucked now.
It can always get worse. Here's the thing. I think you guys are both being too hard on this little teaser that we got.
Mm-hmm.
For one, I haven't heard anybody talking about how we finally got the name of this thing, Switch 2. And I think that tells us everything we need to know about what this console is going to be.
Sure.
Nintendo has never done a 2 before. As you guys were both kind of saying, every new one has been this complete revolution and completely new form factor, names, all this kind of stuff. Everything has been so different. This is the first time Nintendo is really doing a 2. So of course, it's going to be very Switch-like. It's going to be like its predecessor, but there are going to be some tweaks, some changes, some quality of life upgrades, which of course we expect it to have more power and more space, which, as you said, the Switch desperately needs. But the Switch is Nintendo's most successful console of all time and is 7 years old.
Right.
They would be stupid to throw that in the trash and go to something completely different like they always do. Yeah. Like that would be bonkers from a financial perspective. So I think they are, even if it appears on the surface like they're going the safe route and just giving us more of what we already love, right now, people aren't tired of the Switch. So that's the right call to make. And I still believe that when April 2nd comes around and we get the full shebang on this thing, it's going to be well worth the purchase price.
I hope you're right. I hope this isn't like when your favorite band later in their career, they start making weird albums and you're like, what? Kiss making a country album? What is this?
Right.
Oh, God, right.
Post Malone's country now. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
This isn't Nintendo making a weird album. This is them making their hits over again.
It's probably true. And though, I guess maybe the one thing I'm more disappointed on the overwhelming space is that it's just not vastly different. It could work exactly the same as the Switch, right? Just wanted it to look cool. And we've already seen what the Switch looks like. And this just looks like it's funny because the tablet's too big for it is what it looks like.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
I suppose I just want it personally for me. I wanted it. And the thing is, to your point, when PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5,
right,
they all came out, that they're basically the same system with, graphical upgrades and new controllers.
And when the PS5 looked different, we all mocked it mercilessly.
Oh yeah. It's a Wi-Fi, right?
Right.
So I guess there's part of me that was hoping that it would look cool and different, but there's always the risk, you're right, of making it a meme, essentially. Mm-hmm. But speaking of memes, I was having a conversation earlier, and we've already referenced The Office today. I think part of is Pam going, they're the same picture.
Yeah. So, Blue, a quick question. You had said people are not tired of the Switch. Did you think the people were tired of the PS4?
I think that people, they have higher expectations for Xbox and Sony as far as give us the next box with better graphics.
Right.
And I think those two companies especially are under a lot more pressure from their fan bases to provide that. And I think Nintendo fans are more used to just waiting until Nintendo is ready to do shit.
Okay. All right. Makes sense.
To your earlier point, Donnie, about this needing to be PS5, Xbox Series X equivalent, I will be shocked if that's the case. I will be extremely happy, but I don't see Nintendo implementing ray tracing on cartridges, right? And it's not going to happen. I mean, and knowing Nintendo, right? They're trying to keep, because I think we saw the pricing of it, $399.99, which is
that the prices so far are just rumors.
Oh, okay. So great. So glad I brought fake news to a news show. Awesome.
And I've seen rumors as high as like $7.99 or $6.99 or $7.99 or something, but I think that's people just engagement baiting online.
Yeah, there's no way that a Nintendo Switch is going to cost that much. And if that's the case, I'm not buying one.
No, nobody will.
Well, though, if it had the graphics and capability of a PS5 or better,
But it's not gonna.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if it comes out and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, it's like a little PC, you know?
Yeah.
No, it's gonna have PS4 level graphics, like was supposedly leaked, I think 2 years ago. And that's not even for Nintendo's own games. That's going to be so that they're able to port over more AAA games from other studios over to the Switch too and make them work better because, you know, so many AAA games try to port over to the Switch and it's kind of a struggle for the most part because the system just can't. So I think that's the main reason that they're even upgrading the graphics much at all for the Switch 2 is just for that porting capability.
Maybe you get to play like Modern Warfare on it.
Oh, what's the point? Well, I guess you could play it on the go. Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be a better system than the Steam Deck. That is one of my expectations.
Well, and that's one of the things I noticed initially whenever I first saw it. I was like, well, then why don't you just go with a Steam Deck? Because the library from Steam is so expansive that I think if I had to choose between a Switch 2 and the Steam Deck, I'd totally get a Steam Deck.
No, because then you can't play 24-cart Mario Kart.
Is there ever a chance that would be released on Steam?
Never,
ever. And that's exactly why whatever else happens with the Switch 2, you're going to buy it.
Right.
You don't know me. Don't put that out there in the universe.
Well, and the thing is, though, you're into Mario Kart, but if say you're not into Mario Kart, you're probably into Smash Bros. If you're not into Smash Bros, you're probably into Mario Party. Like there's something that's going to
Pokemon or Animal Crossing or something.
Right.
Something for everybody.
Right.
They are the best at first party titles and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
PlayStation is trying. I'll give them credit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's why Nintendo can put out this little teaser and the internet can go, rah, rah, what the hell? It looks the same. And Nintendo goes, I don't care. You're going to buy it. So shut up.
Stop. You're going to buy
it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're
going to buy it and like it.
It's just a kid going like, I want ray tracing and I want 2 terabytes worth of space. Nintendo going, you get the Switch 2 and like it.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
Dynasty Warriors Origins, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC. In this Musou style hack and slash, tension-filled battlefield stretch as far as the eye can see. How will you handle the onslaught of enemies? Your military prowess will serve you well as you fight in tandem with your allies in tactical battles unique to the Dynasty Warriors franchise and experience the most exhilarating action in the series history. Blade Chimera, Switch and PC. Explore a dark and sinister Osaka as the demon hunter Shin. Battle demons, regain lost skills, and uncover the truth of your forgotten past in this exciting, occult-inspired cyberpunk 2D Metroidvania. Just don't bang it. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD for the Switch. Help DK and Diddy Kong recover their precious banana hoard from the villainous Tiki Tac tribe. That was hard to say. In this visually enhanced version of the Wii game. Stomp enemies, blast through barrels, and ride rockets, minecarts, and even Rambi the Rhino in 80 levels across 9 worlds, including the additional levels from the Nintendo 3DS version. You can even join up with a buddy for 2-player local co-op. And based on these 3 games, Ryan, what are you picking this week?
Blade Chimera looked great until the phrase Metroidvania came into play. And for that reason, I'm out. Dynasty Warriors, they've come up with a few different Dynasty games. I have yet to get into that genre. I guess technically it's a genre. But it's cool that it's back to the Origins piece to it, but it's not really me. So that really leaves me with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Absolutely. Let's check this one out. I'm a sucker for remakes. And Donkey Kong Country Returns was a great game to begin with. Really looking forward to being able to play it on the Switch, because apparently everything needs to get ported to the Switch. So Yeah, kind of an exciting thing. And you know what? The one thing I wish that it had, though, was multiplayer co-op. So online multiplayer co-op. That's the only thing that I think is missing from this, but wasn't available to my knowledge with the first game. So I guess it just makes sense.
You would play this game co-op online with somebody you don't know?
No, I'd like to have a friend where you could play with. Yeah.
He'd like to have a friend, Donnie.
Yeah.
One day. Don't crush his dreams. One day.
I could be a friend to you.
And never mind. He's never leaving his house again.
All right. Blue, what about you? What are you picking up this week?
You know, this is one of those great weeks where everything looks pretty good. I don't really care for Muso style games, but in a pinch, I think this would be really, really fun. Dynasty Warriors Origins. Blade Chimera, I thought looked amazing. I do love a Metroidvania, as you guys know. Combat looks really, really fun. So I'd be all down for that. But yeah, the one I'm actually going to get, Donkey Kong Country Returns, because I love that series. And this is one that I didn't play because it was on the Wii and I hated the Wii. So I'm really looking forward to playing this for the first time.
Okay, nice.
What about you, Donnie?
I don't get the feels when I see Dynasty Warriors Origins. It's the hack and slash, which, okay, I like a good hack and slash, but it's mixed with tactical stuff, like setting up your back. I just don't have time for that. I want to turn my brain off a lot whenever I play video games, and I don't want to have to do a lot of strategy. So Dynasty Warriors Origins is out for me. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, like you, Blue. I never played the one that came out for the Wii. I hated the Wii. So I don't even know what this one looks like. I will say that I did read a story about how Nintendo cut out the original developers in the credits for this game, which I think is a dick move. You got to give them credit for making the game itself. But back to the games, Blade Chimera looks amazing. The Metroidvania, Cyberpunk, like, come on, that's my wheelhouse. That's my bread and butter. I looked at the gameplay. You've got your sword, you've got your gun, you're shooting things, you're jumping. It looks amazing. And the initial screen that I saw was a dude with a blade on a subway train, and it made me think immediately of Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm picking this one up. Game looks amazing. So I think Blade Chimera is going to be my pickup of the week, with Donkey Kong Country Returns HD coming in a close second, but only I don't know what the game looks like and I don't know how it plays.
Well, I'd probably like a Donkey Kong Country game.
You're not wrong, but
just a wild guess.
Smart ass.
Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. On this week's episode, Bill and his guests discuss how Final Fantasy VII's stored kiosks, demo discs, and even the occasional TV commercial set their expectations for the game. So this week's question is, what's the first video game you can remember playing in a store kiosk? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at @AGamerLooksAt40 on Twitter.
I loved those store kiosks where it had the controller and everything. I think they sometimes do it, but I don't think it's as prevalent as it used to be, where every system had one and the controller was gunked up with stuff. And yeah. But for me, the first one that I remember was Super Mario World when that came out. That was huge, right? I know that I played ones before that, but that one in particular is the one that resonated with me. And I remember playing it for the first time, doing well enough with it, and then pissing off the kids who had played it before, who were much older than me. And then they informed me that there was something about Santa that I should know. So,
oh no, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, no, not today.
No, not at all.
Okay. Someday when you feel safe.
I've paid a therapist hundreds of dollars an hour for that. So, let's be honest with you, I don't want to shortchange you.
Simon Astor says, first game I ever played in a store kiosk was Fax Xanadu. I had no idea what I was doing and a spiky slime killed me. That would be a brutal game.
Yeah.
Just sit there and try to play like while your mom was grocery shopping.
I remember playing the NES kiosk back in the day early on, and it was like, I mean, come on. It looked way better than the Atari. And I don't think I've ever seen an Atari kiosk. I know I was too young to remember that. But the Nintendo one I specifically remember. The Super Nintendo and the Game Boy kiosks. Like how, I mean, come on. That was chef's kiss, top tier kiosk display for me. Love those two.
See, maybe it was just where I lived, but I don't recall seeing a lot of kiosks up until like the N64. And then it felt like then we got a lot of kiosks. So the first one that I probably saw was like Mario 64.
Okay.
Wasn't there 64 games at McDonald's as well back in the day?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, there were. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a GameCube one too. If I'm
Eventually,
not
it was
mistaken.
GameCube.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gross. I'm never touching that thing ever. That's got to be at least 50% as bad as the ball pit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, gross.
From a
gross.
germ concentration factor. Yeah.
100%.
Oh, and I misread this thing. Yeah. What's the first video game? Not the first video game system. I couldn't tell you which video game I played on the Super Nintendo the Nintendo kiosk. But Super Nintendo, hands down, absolutely was Super Mario World.
GoldenEye says, I think I played Donkey Kong on the ColecoVision.
Nice.
Dingy Forever says, I played the good old NES kiosk at Wellco. What Up John says, I played the Virtual Boy at Toys R Us.
I played the Virtual Boy at Blockbuster before and at KB Toy Hobby, where I used to work.
Oh, that would be super cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually jealous. Now, I'm hoping you were one of the first people to put your face up to it, though. I'm just saying, every time I go to the optometrist, they got to wipe down the thing and then like tear off some paper, right? Because somebody else had put their face in that thing like a few moments earlier.
It was a different time back then, man.
Germs didn't exist back then.
Right. All right, well, thank you for coming, students. Please take your seats and welcome back to Professor Rybread's Gaming History 101. Eddie Shore, Honus Wagner, George Meekan, Jim Thorpe. What do all of these names have in common?
I don't know who they are.
That could be
Old school baseball players.
One of them is Honus Wagner.
Yeah.
You're right.
Jim Thorpe
Eddie
was
Shore
a football player?
Thorpe was a football player, and Eddie Shore was a hockey player, and George was a basketball player. These are all some of the original greatest athletes of their sport. So talk about when the sport was first developing, was coming into play. These guys were really the best until things had developed. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about one such person that dominated console speed running long before it was popular. We're, of course, going to be talking about the legendary Matt Turk. So often in sports media, you hear people have debates over who the GOAT is or greatest of all time. And I personally, I think it's kind of a fruitless endeavor, as greatness often happens, during specific eras where, depending on the rules or the competition or the tools available to players, they can be vastly different based off of just somebody's skill. So in the world of console video game speedrunning, the debate, I think, as well, is kind of that equally futile thing, right? But one of the things I don't think that there's a debate on is who is one of the OG great ones of the scene. And it's an American by the name of Matt Turk. Now, in the past, in gaming history, we've actually talked about the history behind speedrunning, kind of starting off as high score challenges in the arcade, eventually transforming into like speedrun attempts for like Doom on the PC, and then finding its way to classic video games on consoles like the Super Nintendo, the original Nintendo, and the Genesis in the early 2000s. But the issue with speedrunning back then is that there was really a unified website, like how you go to speedrun.org today to submit your runs, or Twin Galaxies, right? And as a result of that, there really wasn't a universally accepted set of rules for each game. There weren't communities of people looking to scrutinize every run to kind of weed out the cheaters. So many runs that back then were submitted to websites like Speed Demos Archive and Twin Galaxies with very little crossover, and usually required a speedrunner to set up a bulky video camera pointed at a CRT and hope you get lucky before the tape ran out. Just think about that. The tape. So even though you had it on EP, right, you got about 4 hours to get this speed run exactly right. Yeah. So In the early 2000s, Matt Turk would start running 2 games that would cement his legacy into the legend of video game speedrunning history, Contra and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Both of these games are well known for being fairly difficult in having RNG or random number generator usage that makes speedrunning them very difficult to begin with. Now, where today's players have several tools at their disposal to master this game, including things like save states or the use of tasks or tool-assisted speedruns at their disposal to help master certain sections and button presses and timing of the game, as well as, tight-knit communities of players that share new strategies and exploitations that they can use to save on runs. Turk had to run these games on his own and would often have to replay sections over and over to get back to the area he made a potential mistake on. Just imagine being 90% through a game and just to make one mistake and having to replay the entire game to have another chance at that section again.
Nope.
Yep.
I watched some clips of somebody who was trying to do a hitless run in Elden Ring. I was like, are you insane? And they would get like 4 hours into it, and then one enemy would do something weird, and it would just be a one little hit, and the guy would be screaming his lungs out because then he had to start over again.
Simon Astor adds this Contra have RNG. It does. So one of the things is about the certain lasers or how the spikes drop on some of the later levels. That's RNG. They've actually figured out that it's not purely RNG at that point. It actually has to do with like when you start the run versus, the timing of it. So it has been cracked a little bit. But prior to this, when Matt was running it, it was definitely viewed as being RNG. Now, to kick things off, we're actually going to jump ahead a bit in the timeline to August of 2005, where Turk was in the middle of practicing speedruns for Punch-Out! When he noticed that hardly anyone was speedrunning Contra for the NES. Now, Contra is known as being a difficult game that most players can't defeat without using the Konami code, which is...
Up, down, left, right, BA.
Very good. Which gives you 30 extra lives. Now, Turk knew how to beat the game without losing a single life. While this is impressive, it's not nearly as impressive as how short of a time it took Turk to defeat the entire game, being one of the first known players to beat the game in under 11 minutes, clocking in a time of 10 minutes and 55 seconds. And in fact, the record wasn't well known enough, and that there were several sites that had different players' time of 11:25 as the world record. Now, Turk did a lot of great things on his run, including pinpoint accurate jumps, optimal use of the spread gun, which actually shoots 5 bullets at once across the screen, and an awareness of game-specific events like the timing of enemies, boss battles, and even item drops.
I like his optimal use of the spread gun.
Well played. It took a moment to register in the head, but it was good. I
Loading.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Now, Turk's biggest claim to fame comes from his utter dominance of one of the harder games on the NES, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Now, Turk in the early 2000s owned every record for each fighter and complete run-throughs of the game. Now, Turk was one of the first runners that we know of to have a first-round knockout of Mike Tyson, which, by the way, requires some very specific punches.
Yes.
And we're talking about frame-perfect punches, a set of, I think it's a minimum of 5 in a row at certain points. So it's absolutely insane.
I've never done it.
Right. And he was able to string together in one sitting a run through each character in world record sometimes, or even near world record times for each one. Now, this feat may seem insane, and even before adding in the fact that there's a randomness to the game, it's mostly unpredictable, or at least at the time it was, making it so that skill alone wasn't good enough just to get the record. You also had to hope for luck as well. And Turk was clearly dedicated to mastering the game completely. Having one person own the entire record board, though, most likely motivated other greats of the game to play. So guys like Sinister One, Zallard, and eventually Summoning Saul did their best to take down Matt's records one by one as new strategies and exploitations were discovered. But not only cementing his legacy, but being a role model for future speedrunners by just dominating this game. Now, the one strange thing about Turk is he is kind of anonymous in a way, right? If you think about most speedrunners today who have massive followings on social media, they utilize services like Twitch to showcase their skills, often make money by streaming on their runs on a regular scheduled interval. But Turk, it would seem, never really sought out the fame that his name could very likely bring. And he rarely engaged with online communities, and there is no known public photographs or videos of him. Most of what the community knows comes from record submissions and secondhand accounts from those who verified his runs. Now, I tried to find pictures of him and I couldn't. If there are pictures of him or video that exist out there, please let me know. I would love to see this. But for my research over the last week, I just couldn't find anything. Now, the anonymity, though, has led to debates and speculation about his existence. Was he actually a real person? Were his records legitimate? And over time, independent verifications have confirmed the authenticity of his runs, especially through Summoning Salt and Summoning Salt and Sinister One. But the questions about Turk's identity have really only added to his mystique. Now, Turk's reluctance to step into the spotlight gave him almost mythical status, if you will. And in a community that thrives on collaboration and visibilities, Turk's enigmatic nature stood out, making him a figure of fascination and reverence. Now, Turk's records and mystique didn't just inspire admiration, they shaped the speedrunning community in profound ways. So to wrap things up, Turk's runs demonstrated what was possible in games that many considered to be unbeatable and such high levels of optimization. His records became benchmarks for excellence and challenging other players to push their limits. So thank you for attending today's Gaming History 101. And just a reminder, if you have any ideas for a story or a topic you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com and we might feature your suggestion.
Speedruns and world record attempts are freaking hard.
Oh my
They
God.
are endurance trials, and I haven't attempted one in a couple of years, but man, just trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, and getting it right, you're like, oh, okay, and then like having to move on to the next level, and then you mess up, and then you have to go back and do all of it all over again. One of them specifically was Lightning Force. Yep. Like if you weren't perfect on everything, it's start over. Okay, now I got to start all the way over at the beginning because you can't just restart the level. You just have to start your run all the way over, and it's memorization.
Right.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And if you look at certain runners that have tried to completely optimize those runs, it becomes even worse, I think. So if you got it to the point where you've got guys now that are breaking the game down by pixel perfect button presses over a span of hours, right? You have to, at this very moment, have this perfect pixel button press in order to accomplish that next break. As far as the record is concerned, we're talking thousands and thousands of attempts. It's not for the lighthearted, is what I'll say.
Yeah, screw that. My backlog is way too long to spend that long on one game, just trying to get it like 15th of a second faster.
What I'm having my fingers crossed for?
What?
That everything goes well with the download of the audio.
Tell me you didn't start it back up.
I did start it back up.
Okay, well, everybody say goodbye to Donnie.
Right, I was going to say, you may not see him after this.
Right, this is his last appearance on Gamers Week. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you all for listening to episode 148 of Gamers Week podcast, and a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, and Pixel Pawn Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter or Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com. Or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/GamersWeek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
Is there a cockle emote satisfaction wants to know?
There will be.
Oh my gosh, we do. We need a cockle emote, and we probably need a bag of dicks emote. I was thinking that in the Discord yesterday. We probably needed a bag of dicks.
Do we?
Maybe we need a T-shirt that says Gamers Week Podcast. I came for the bag of dicks, and just
Phrasing?
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely. Like we can have all the different phrases that we've created over the years. We can have those, like the logo, and then cockles or dongle, or I came here for the bag of dicks, or whatever. Or what's the dude's name from tonight? Like he can eat a bag of dicks. Business analyst, better
Matthew
investment
Ball.
and business.
Matthew Ball.
Yeah. Matthew Ball can eat a bag of dicks. Thank you, everyone, so much for showing up. This was awesome. It was a really fun show.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank you guys. Tune in next week. We'll be live again. And Monday night, we'll probably have a plays session again. So take care. We'll see you then. Have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, Ned.
Yes, backups would be great.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Donnie.
Yes. I get it. Give me a fucking second.
Oh, now he's got attitude. After last night, now he's got attitude.
You've been more like, oh, but you're the one who's supposed to tell me.
Yep. It's your responsibility to tell me to do something.
Oh, so
I'm
I
an
tell you, and then
adult.
you give me attitude. Okay.
Yep.
Oh my God, we're all like a married couple.
I suppose. There's no sex, we're all just speak when we need to. So
What the hell are we doing this for?
The kids?
If we don't have any.
The podcast is our kid.
Okay.
Them kids.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple. And I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD STDs things, right? Make your fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
that was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.